Hi, I'm Shreya. My so firstly, thank you for having me here. And tabla is known for its complex and expressive rhythms, but the idea of the talk is, what if we could make those patterns playable on a drum kit or any other instrument, like to make it more cross-instrumental, cross-culturally instrumental, I guess. So this talk introduces a system that listens to tabla performances, classifies each stroke using machine learning, and responds with a drum groove that follows the flow of the original rhythm. Built on stroke detection, pattern prediction, and cross-instrumental mapping, the idea is that this system acts as a rhythm translator. So just to describe a little bit what tabla is, so it is a North Indian percussive instrument which is made of two drums, daya and baya, and the daya is the smaller, which is a bit high-pitched in comparison to baya, which is larger and has a more of a bass sound. The construction, it's made out of copper, sometimes terracotta, and both of the tops are made up of goat skin. The thing that gives it the harmonic content is the black patch in the middle that you see. When you hit, it's played by hand, so when you hit it, it creates inharmonic partials, and the idea is, where do you hit it to get the most harmonic content? And this instrument is very timbrally rich and diverse, and because it's played by hand, the sound varies on who plays it, kind of, because where the hand lands on the skin. So the motivation of this entire paper was, can the tabla patterns be understood by non-tabla players? And I'll share one of the inspirations that led me to do this project. That is Paul Westfall's videos. Oops, it's not coming out. 1 second. Yeah, I'm going to play it again. So just to explain, so what he played was a tabla qaida, like a pattern, the full tabla pattern. But the idea is he's speaking tabla bowl, like the tabla strokes, but playing them on drums. And the idea is to make a system that allows for this to happen. So the system overview right now is that you send in the tabla input, it detects the onsets, classification happens using the CNN model, and roughly I've chosen 12 major strokes. There can be other strokes as well, like minor strokes, which I haven't classified yet. Like these are broadly 12 strokes which are most commonly used. And then it has the prediction model, which predicts on the last couple of strokes. So for classification, these are the 12 different strokes, and the data was collected on 8,408 strokes. Some of them are self-recorded samples by a friend of mine from India, and some of them were collected from a Kaggle data set. And these 12 strokes can be put in 3 categories broadly: the ringing bell-like tones, resonant bass strokes, and the crisp close sounds. And I've used the rectified complex domain, the RCD onset detection, which was given by Simon Dixon. I've basically referred from his paper. So it is an imbalanced distribution because some of the hits are more likely to occur than the others. But despite of that, we got a really high accuracy in classification. And most of the misclassifications are majorly happening in the same timbral family. Like there are 3 major timbral categories that I defined. So just to give an example of the classification, so this is one of the patterns, a 10-beat pattern. So as you can see, there is one error here. So there's the actual notes and the predicted notes and the mistake. And then the drum mapping as per Paul Westphal's way of playing it. So it allows, like, for a drum player to exactly, I guess, understand, okay, this is what the pattern was. And similarly, another example is this. This is a 12-beat pattern. Sorry. Wait. And now play it in drums. Yeah. So the idea is that the tabla pattern is taken in, classified, and then translated. Oops. Yeah. And then after classification, I tried the generative model where I use the random forest model, which predicts the next stroke based on the last 3 hits. And I got a 70% accuracy, but like, it is not a bad accuracy because the divergence basically gives a creative opportunity, because divergence over here is not a flaw. It basically, because the idea is to create like a call and response. So like if I play something and then I get a response with the divergence, that allows for a more creative like call and response between 2 things. And then, so yeah, the mapping is based on Paul Westphal's interpretation of tabla rhythms. And this is how he puts it broadly, how the tabla note is mapped onto drums. And just to give a basic demonstration of how the prediction and everything is working, I'm just going to show this really quickly. Yeah, 1 second. So I've made this tool, which is there on GitHub right now, but yeah. Sorry, can't see it. So the idea is that if you load any tabla file, it'll give you the classification of the notes and also give you a MIDI file that you can put into your system. So I think it acts as a really interesting learning tool right now. And hopefully, like if I make the timing and the response rate faster, then it can be used as a performative tool as well. But yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and as I said, the idea is to make it more real time and faster. And right now I've kept the mappings very simple, like it's 1-to-1 mapping between tabla and drums, which can be more stylistic and probabilistic. But for now, I felt that it was better because I wanted to focus on the tabla patterns rather than the patterns in the mapping between tabla and drums. And ultimately, it would be like I would like to take it to the point where tabla and drums can go back and forth. Right now, it's just tabla 2 drums, But ideally, it should, like, I would like to do it drums to tabla and to multiple percussive instruments. The cool thing that came out of it was an ability that, yes, machine learning can understand the tabla, even though it is played, hand played by multiple people. And the more the data, the more it can be classified and can be used as a learning tool between percussionists of different cultures. And yeah, so the conclusion, tabla is a North Indian percussive instrument. So the foundation is classification, prediction is the explorative part, and the mapping is just like a proof of concept that one instrument's patterns can be mapped to a different instrument. And this system is right now working as a learning tool, and hopefully with increased speed and everything, it can be used as a performative tool. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Oh, sorry.
Ooh, there we go. Now it's on. Thank you so much. We've got some time for questions in the room. Yeah, to start. Let's have someone from the back we haven't heard from yet. You might need to make your way down to me. Cable's not as long.
You mentioned that you envision this being used as a performance tool once you've tweaked the performance a bit.
Yes.
What do you see that looking like?
So there is something called as a concept called Jugalbandi in India, where what the idea is that what people do is, like, I play like da 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 da, you respond with da 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 da. Like, so the idea is that there is a, like, if you play something on tabla, the computer responds in drums by understanding the tabla rhythm. So, and it basically allows for a communicative performance, and that is what I was going for.
So that wouldn't just be a repeat of the original pattern, it would be an expansion of it as well.
That's the idea. Yeah. Like, when I, like, in the generative model, the accuracy of 70% makes sense because it gives 30% of, like, divergence, which allows for newer rhythmic patterns to come across.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. And another question. We had one here.
Thank you so much for the interesting talk. Can you, in your program, can you also map to an alternative performance sounds, if you like? So, for example, body percussion,
yeah.
or...
So ultimately, this is basically just serving as a proof of concept that if you train, like, if you have enough data and if you train your machine learning model, you can basically classify the percussive instruments. And tabla is a difficult one because it's timbrally really specific. And like, the idea is, like, I want to take this project further and develop this into, like, probably tabla to djembe, djembe to tabla, tabla to, like, body percussion to tabla. And the idea is, how do instruments interact in that kind of a scenario? Definitely.
Yeah. I found it interesting in your paper that you were talking about the possibilities for cross-cultural communication, and it would be lovely to hear you speak to that a bit more, if you've had any discoveries or any hopes for the future.
Yeah, like, ultimately the goal is to, as they mentioned before, if, like, Indian players can understand African rhythms by just a direct communication of the djembe patterns being played in tabla. That is the idea where it comes from. Or, like, even, like, as you heard Paul Westfall's interpretation of the tabla patterns, that's not how I hear drum to be played. But that's how drum can sound on a tabla pattern. So that, like, just exploring that idea, I feel like it can become a little more cross-cultural in the sense that people can understand other rhythms and just evolve from there, kind of.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have time for another question in the room, if we have one. Yep.
You mentioned that the tabla obviously has this kind of very rich harmonic thing, and the different ways people play it can produce different tones, different notes. Have you thought of trying to do anything with those? In other words, capturing, because I mean, I saw that you translate more than 5 of the things into snare drum hits, which obviously tend not to have very harmonic things. Have you thought of trying to turn it into melodic instruments and actual notes?
I actually did try it for the fun of it. I tried writing bass lines on the different tones of tabla hits. It's not there here, but I have tried it, and I can show you an example later. But yeah.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, one more. Yeah. I think we have time. Let's go for it. Make your way to me. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was wondering if you had any goes at like trying to measure and classify, because in the bayard, the left hand, you can do like pitch bends, and yeah, I was wondering if you had a go at that and how.
That's one of the things on my mind. I have to work at it because it is like the amount of pressure you put on the left side determines the pitch. Right now, I'm using, like for CNN classification, I'm using MFCCs and chroma. So the idea is that it allows majorly timbral classification despite of the pitch. So it's able, like right now, all the notes that are there, they're not specified to a certain pitch. So it looks at all the different pitches. But yes, from a physical modeling point of view, it will be really interesting to look at the pressure on the left side, or the pressure to get the pitch bend and also translate it probably on, I don't know, how would it sound on the bass drum in the drum kit, but yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Thank you so much, Shreya. Let's have a round of applause.
Thank you.